the weekly Industry Angel podcast hears from business leaders and entrepreneurs who share their stories and that all-important light bulb moment. This can inspire us all and maybe scratch that itch and kickstart that idea that keeps you awake at night. Welcome to the latest edition of the Industry Angel podcast. My name's Ian Farrer, and joining us today we have the UK's number one motivational speaker, author and founder of 4 Networking, Brad Burton. Hi, Brad.
Ian, how you doing? You know what? People always say to me, Brad, how did you become the UK's number one motivational business speaker? I just made a website and said I'm the UK's number one motivational business speaker. Listen, here's the thing. If I said to you, I am the greatest, which boxer am I talking about?
Muhammad Ali.
Right, was he the greatest?
Yeah,
he got knocked out twice.
Yeah.
So the point is, you know, somewhere along the way, he told everyone he was the greatest, and 40, 50 years on, people are still saying it. And I think that's the starting point for anything that you want to achieve, is you've got to almost convince yourself, even blag yourself, that you're the greatest. It's a bit like when you go for an interview. You know, when you're sat there in an interview, you are saying to the employer, I am the greatest. And then somewhere along the way, we wake up one day and we forgot that we're the greatest and we just meander through. So what I've got is a complete winning mindset, which is, you know, I tell myself I'm the greatest, and consequently people then end up repeating it back to me. Anyway, didn't we have an interview today? Go on, Ian.
Well, that's a good intro, because what I was going to say to you is, I mean, that is an awesome intro. So how does that feel to you, you know, looking back over some of the hurdles you've had to overcome? Has this achievement sunk in with you?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I've been up and down like a bride's nightie over the last 10 years. I think anyone who runs a business is going to be on that whole piece where, you know, it does not always smooth sailing. And I think as long as you know why you do it, as long as you know why you're doing it, it's okay. And if your only motivation is money, it's not enough. You need a reason why, and perhaps we'll get to that later in the interview.
All right, okay, well, that's a good lead in. I mean, you know, in terms of how you're well received, you know, is it this sort of what you see is what you get style with you, Brad? You know, your heart's on your sleeve.
Well, I think that's a fair assessment. But what happens in life and what happens in business is people pretend to be something they're not, and it ends up catching up with them. You know, you can only run away from the truth for so long, and this is the problem, is that we leak the truth. So what happens is you end up with people who are not spending 100% of the time being 100% them, and this is something that nobody can ever take away from me. You know, I am fundamentally me swearing, me northernness, everything about it. Whereas the old days, I sort of tried to run away from that. I tried to be something I wasn't in corporate, and guess what? I failed in corporate because I wasn't being me. The very point when it started coming together, my life, is the point where I started being me. And that's what I'd say to your audience now is, you know, be you, because everyone else is taken.
So in terms of when you're speaking, Brad, you know, what is it that people take to you? Is it they see a little bit of themselves in you, do you think? And they're really trying not to be themselves, but then they see you, they think, hey, we can do this.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happens. I always often get people coming up to me after seminars and saying, can I be honest with you? They always start off with that, can I be honest with you? and I end up finishing their sentence off. I say, can I be honest with you? And I say, yeah, you came here thinking, what a complete dickhead. And you've come away thinking, this guy's all right. I can't believe how wrong I got him. And they go, how do you know that? I says, because I get it about 3 or 5 times a day, right? I get it day in, day out. And this is the thing, people put their own preconceptions about what someone is and what, you know, I tattoos, shaved head, you know, from Manchester, I look like a drug dealer. You know, I'm not a drug dealer, not anymore. But the reality is that people put these preconceptions on people's, you know, I'm looking for high net worth individuals, I'm looking for bank managers, everyone has value. And this is what I try to teach when I speak. Everyone has value. Never underestimate anyone, never overestimate anyone. Treat everyone the same with respect. And that's the bit where I think people change based on somebody's net worth or their status or their title as a business owner. And I treat everyone the same completely.
So in terms of your speaking, Brad, you know, where you best received, you're a northern guy, you know, do you stay away from the north because people think, oh, yeah, I've heard this before?
No. Listen, I mean, if somebody's heard me speak, for instance, I've been speaking at the business show now over in Olympia and Excel. I'm the headline keynote speaker there for probably 5 years, twice a year I've been doing that. And I pretty much do the same seminar, just a few various bits changing there. And somebody says to me last time, well, Brad, you need to change your stuff. Well, let me tell you something. There was 300 people outside that couldn't get in. 300 people outside that were kicking off because they couldn't get in. Now, when there's nobody outside and when there's half the seats empty inside, then maybe, just maybe, I need to change my stuff. Now, the reality is, I do that 45-minute seminar at the business show year in, year out because it works. It's high energy, blah, blah, blah. But I also do something called Brad Camp, which is effectively, me with a small group of people for 8 hours a day. And 45 minutes of content will not spread over 8 hours. So I've got loads of content, but I apply it at the various, the appropriate places. In terms of where I'm best received, I'd say, in the small business arena. People who are either one starting out or people who are going through a business where either one, they've lost the way, lost the focus, or lost the belief. Because I can switch people back on. I can turn their belief back on. Because this is the thing. You look at Muhammad Ali. I am the greatest. I am the greatest. I am the greatest. Whether he was or whether he's not. If he was saying to himself, I am the shittest. When he went to go and do a boxing match, guess what? It wouldn't be in a really strong place. So somewhere along the way, this is what I do. I throw the switch on people in the same way that I've thrown the switch on myself. Because up until 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I was just a bum. That's probably a bit rude, that, for myself. But I wasn't particularly a high flyer. I just smoked weed all day and played computer games. Right? I was going nowhere fast. And what had happened is my belief had fell away. My belief system that I could amount to anything had fell away. I'd lost my way in life. And as a result of losing way in life, guess what? The opportunities that I now see that present themselves were probably always there. The difference is I wasn't seeing them because I didn't have my head up, I had my head down.
So in terms of Brad Camp, I'll just touch on that. Who is that focused at, Brad? Is that, people who need a mentor?
Well, yes. I mean, people approach me all day long to be a mentor, and I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time to do one-on-one mentoring. That's the reality of it. But equally, after 8 hours of me burning your ears off, you don't want me either. So it's a really funny one with Brad Camp, because I do too. Be a better speaker, which is how anyone can become a professional speaker, which is a one-day event, and also build a better business. And we had everything from a startup business there last time to a managing director of a £50 million company. So it's really interesting what I find with people who are hyper wealthy, and I've got a few of them as clients. They've got everything financially that you could possibly wish for, but the thing that they're lacking is happiness. And it's a really interesting point that I often round a lot of seminars off with, which is chase happiness, not money. Because 3 years ago, I was making a whole lot more money, loads of money. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being happy, 1 being miserable, I was a 2 or a 3. I was broken. And now you fast forward 3 years and making less money, but I've got everything that I want. I've just look at the world differently. So instead of having this belief where I've got to have a Lamborghini in order to be a success, or I need to, have a house overlooking the Maldives, just nonsense. You have these belief systems, or you have these value systems pushed on us by society, pushed on us by Dragon's Den. Not everyone can be Peter Jones getting out of a frigging Learjet, rushing to go and have a tennis match with Richard Branson before then getting on a private jet somewhere. Just nonsense. But we've been told that that's what success is. Having £2,500 Prada shoes, having a Gucci belt for £1,000. And actually, somewhere along the way, you see people chasing these unrealistic goals, and you end up burning yourself out and feeling unhappy. So I've got to a point now where I'm 42, 43 next week. February 16th, you want to send me presents? 6th. But
you can send me a book on your birthday.
But I'm 43 and I've got a 5-bedroom house over in Somerset, and I've come from, when I first started my business 10 years ago, I was in a 2-bedroom house, terraced house, and I worked the business from a box room, which was probably like 4 foot by 4 foot. It's tiny. I had a concertina door. That's how small it was. I now, live in a wonderful village. I've got a 5-bedroom house. Now, years ago, when I started my business, I wanted a 10-bedroom house or a 10-bedroom mansion. Now, I've got a spare room that I never go in. If I'd continue to work to go and get a 10-bedroom house, guess what? I'll have 6 rooms that I don't go in. And this is the thing. Where did this come from? Where did this vision, this daft dream of having a 10-bedroom mansion or a house come from? It was, what I've always been taught what success is. And I found success. I found absolute success because I'm comfortable in what I've achieved. I'm comfortable with what I've got. And somewhere along the way, and this is a question that I'm asking myself right now, whether I've run out of ambition or ability. Because I want for nothing, right? I don't want a Learjet. I don't want a private island. So what about this? Why don't I just enjoy the life that I've got, my family, the life that I live, rather than this constant chasing? Because 10 years ago, when I walked out of that job and told my employer to shove his job up his arse, I wanted to do it because I wanted to get off the hamster wheel of employment. Fast forward to 7 years when I unravelled. I was on the hamster wheel of self-employment. So you've got to ask yourself a question. Why are you doing it? Because if you don't know why you're doing it and you're just doing it because you want a mansion, you've just failed. I promise you that now.
So is your motivation happiness now, Brad?
No question. And it's a bit strange here when you think I'm a Mancunian lad from Salford, no qualifications to my name, turning around and saying, yeah, my focus is happiness, because it just sounds a little bit airy-fairy and nuts. But, I've not got a Lamborghini outside. Could I get a Lamborghini? If I really wanted to work for the next year or two, I could, no question, have a Lamborghini. But what's the point? to what? Go and drive corners, take them faster than I should be? I don't...
Not in Somerset, surely.
Well, listen, they've got some nice straight roads. But don't get me wrong. If I won the lottery tomorrow, first thing I'd go and do is spec out a Lamborghini. But I'm not prepared to work for it. I'm not prepared to work for it. So you need to know your level. Right now, maybe this is why someone like Jay-Z or 50 Cent or anyone else who's a major success, Richard Branson's, maybe that floats the boat. But honestly, this is the other thing. I flew first class for the first time last year, from London to Florida. Now, the ticket should have been at £16,000. The wife managed to get them for something called a boomerang flight, right, where you fly from Heathrow to Dublin and Dublin back, and then blah blah blah. Managed to get it for £4,000, which was like £800 more than what it would cost to go economy. So it's not like I'm living lavish. So I've ticked that box. I have ticked the box, the first class flight box, and it was an amazing experience. Would I do it next time? Would I pay proper money? Of course not. But this is the thing. But if you're flying first class everywhere, every single day, guess what? Your first class is no longer a treat. Your first class, it's expected, and you just move your level up. And that's the problem, is with constantly chasing and moving the bar up, you end up getting to a point where your first class is just normal. That's not a good life. And I've got friends of mine with millions of pounds of supercars. Fact, millions of pounds, right? And I'm not exaggerating when I say, talking tens of millions of pounds. And they are no happier than you or I. And that's the thing. And I only know that because I've got friends of mine who are in that position, right? Because otherwise you think, when you get a Bugatti or a Lamborghini, I need to stand over, everything's going to be good. But it's not. Nothing changes. So unless you're constantly happy with yourself and with your life right now, you're never going to be happy when you get your trinkets, whatever they be, regardless of whether they're millions of pounds vehicles.
Well, listen, Brad, in terms of happiness, you've still worked hard, though, and I want to touch upon Phone Networking. Are you really in touch with Phone Networking, in terms of the members? Do you get out and see them? How does it work?
Well, Phone Networking, we run a national networking organisation, business network. It's like a membership organisation. And when I started Phone Networking off, back in February the 16th, 2006, people said to me it'd never...
On your birthday?
No, it's actually, my birthday's on the 6th of February. It's 16th.
Oh, sorry.
This is my bad. I'm confusing myself now. But that's the thing. I blurred the lines between my own personal life and my own business. And Phone Networking is very much my baby, and it has been for the last 10 years. Phone Networking, we now run 5,000 business networking meetings across the UK. Average attendance about 21.6. I've got the stats in front of me. But what we did before networking is the British way of doing business networking. Prior to us coming along, and let me be honest here, this was a congested market. This was a congested market without us getting first mover advantage. So somewhere along the way, what I've done is I've elbowed myself into this space where everyone said to me it wouldn't work, and we now run 5,000 events. The way that Phone Networking works is every single person who runs a business needs appointments. Well, that's what Phone Networking do. You have 3 business appointments at every meeting with other members who want appointments. Phone Networking, I've spent the last 10 years of my life, and it's an extension of my family. And I think in some respects, I think I've got to be brave enough in the next 10 years to spend that with my real family, because I've got my boy, Ben, who's 12, Brandon, 7, and Bonnie is nearly 2. And this is the thing, there's a price to pay for any success. And somewhere along the way, what is the point of me missing my children's sports days and stuff? And so no, for the next 10 years, let me put it this way, because we're ahead of schedule there, but I need to have a situation where, put it this way, right, we get there eventually. I've got a director who's been handling the day-to-day for the last year of Phone Networking. So I've been out of the decision-making process, actively involved in the network, but I made the conscious decision to bring a director of strategy in to handle the day-to-day. A year later, I've had some devastating news, and that devastating news is the company is 21% up, right? Without me. 21% up without me and my direction on a day-to-day basis. I think that in itself says something. So 10 years on, maybe things need to change, and I've got a big announcement to make. February the 16th, 2016, 10 years to the day. Next.
Watch this space. Right. Okay. Well, listen, you touched upon time there, Brad, and you've got 3 books out. You've got a book, and I think you did one in 09,
That's right.
11, 13. You need another one, by the way. It's getting on, but
I've actually got one. I'm actually got it in front of me
rough.
right now.
I did not set this up,
No,
mind.
no, it's true. I've actually got a book that I'm writing at the moment.
Really?
It's called Now What? And it's a really interesting. If you think about those titles of my books, the first one, Get Off Your Ass, which is a story about how it's basically the startup business Bible, really, about what you're going to go through. The wife whinging, having no money, parking your car one side against the wall because it's got rust on the wing, and walking to the client. All the usual wheezes that anyone who ever starts a business up will understand. Sending a check without signing it, all that sort of stuff. It talks about it in a humorous way. And I'll tell you something about Get Off Your Ass. It's the highest rated and reviewed business book on Amazon. So genuinely, I'm not a stick as a look. The second book, Get Off Your Ass 2, which is really about, what to do when your business is starting to move, and also how your background, rather than running from it, you actually start embracing your background, me northerner, me a bit rough, blah, 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 and actually start embracing what you are and actually using that as part of your business. Then the third book, Life Business Just Got Easier, actually documents how I've got a business success, but I've come from some serious trauma within that business in order to get to that point. We was one day away from going kaput about 3 years ago. Financially, we were getting strapped and just lots of shit coming my way. And I had a nervous breakdown 3 years ago. And that's the point I make, which is there's a price to pay for success. I ended up with it. Success. I was ill. And this is the point where Life Business Just Got Easier. I try to tell people to avoid going down that route. I want you to think for a second, Ian. I think on your left wall there, you've got an island with health and relationships. And on your right wall, you've got an island with wealth. Wealth beyond your wildest dreams, more money than you could possibly imagine. Which one are you full speed ahead towards? Because this is the thing. You can't go to both. And what happens is in business is most people think they can go towards wealth, and once you get there, you can buy the nice things for your family. You can do this, and this, and they end up getting divorced. They end up getting ill. They end up losing this family. I've seen so many people do that. And this is what I try to say to people. Look, you would be better taking 10 years to get to your goal and having sustained your health, your marriage, your family, rather than doing it in 5 years and losing all that sort of stuff. And when people sort of weigh those decisions up, they can actually see it. But none of us, prior to that book, nobody even mentions it. And if you look at the way I've written my books, I've written them in such a manner which is completely candid. And I think it's a language that people enjoy listening to, and the honesty, because once again in business we end up putting a big suit of armor on about our successes and how but the reality is every single individual, including me, goes through self-doubt and bits where you actually, I wanted to quit 11 times in the last 10 years, genuinely 11. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 quitting, 1 not. I've been 9.8, 9.9, 11 times, and the only reason that I didn't quit is because I had no plan B. Right? If this didn't work, I'd be a laughingstock on a national level. So I had no option. So I didn't walk away because I would be a laughingstock, and that kept me up. That pride kept me up. And that was the only thing that kept me up. I'm through that now, all that stuff. I'm, nervous breakdown, that's finished with. But the great thing about having a deconstruction in that way is you get the opportunity to rebuild yourself differently. And that's what I've done. I've rebuilt myself now. Not necessarily as hey, guess what, I'm going to be a multimillionaire entrepreneur, but actually as somebody who I think a lot of people can relate to in terms of the honesty piece and also the fallibility and how I'm pretty unexceptional. But what I've managed to do is I've managed to switch my ingredients around and change my recipe and actually do something completely different and successful within the small framework of window of opportunity that I had.
No, I think that candid approach is probably why people relate to you, Brad. I mean, you touched upon it there, where people come up to you afterwards when you've been speaking, and I guess your Amazon reviews speak for itself. You do hear a lot of. I mean, I've read them myself. Right. You get 4.8 out of 5. Right. People are relating to you.
Yeah. Well, I think the first few reviews from my friends and family doing them, my mum and all that, but the rest are real. There's like 500 plus.
Did your mum leave a good one?
Yeah, of course she did. The rest are real, and even from my perspective, I can't believe it. Like people saying this is life changing, and I'll tell you the other thing. As a result of the first one, Get Off Your Ass, I had somebody email me once, because my email address is in there, and somebody said, "Oh, hiya, Brad. I'm reading your book at the moment, and I'm going to leave my wife of 13 years tomorrow." And I emailed them back, because that's a lot of responsibility to be honest based on the book.
Sure.
I emailed them back and said, "Where are you up to in it?" I said, "Oh, I'm chapter 6." I said, "Well, you've got another 8 chapters to go. It might be an idea just to finish the book up before you decide to." Anyway, that individual ended up leaving his wife, and then 2 years later, he's now married with another girl who he met via phone networking. Wow, just amazing to think that that's had that impact. And several people have left their job. It's that kind of thing where you think, you've got one life here. You've got one life. And what most of us do is just sort of almost just meander through life. And I did the same up until 31 years old. I just went through life, thinking that this is my lot. And then it was at the point where I was delivering pizzas 10 years ago, and this is the thing, why is it relevant to your audience that I was delivering pizzas 10 years ago? Well, it's relevant because in order to get to where you need to be in your life, you're going to have to do shit you don't want to do, right? Whether that's waiting tables, doing paperwork, doing cold calls, doing stuff that you don't like doing. Because I tell you something, at 31 years old, I certainly didn't love, I certainly didn't love delivering pizzas. It never made me feel proud. But looking back now, it was the best thing that I ever did.
So, Brad, you paid your dues, okay, but You mentioned there that you didn't have a plan B.
No, I've adapted.
Do you not believe in plan B?
I've adapted it every step of the way. So I've got no written plan, but I've got it in my head, which is, right, I want to do this, this, and this. And I move on the fly because, what a strategy is an informed guess. And if it's not working, you're informed guess again. So I'm always, all day long, I've always got a plan, but I've only got one plan, which is make this work.
You mentioned about Now What? Is that the new book?
Yeah.
I don't want to say the pun, but Now What? What's it all about?
Well, so we talked about that. Get off your ass. Life business just got, get off your ass too. Life business just got easier. And then this Now What, which is, if you think about that, my entire, those 4 titles sort of sum up my last 10 years, really. Look, the Now What thing is, if any single individual is ever struggling in their life with any single issue or any single business problem or any single question, ask yourself that question, now what? Now what? Because what happens is we don't ask that question to ourselves. We just keep putting one foot in front of another foot and just keep walking and walking and walking. And we're not really sure why. What I've done with Now What is I think I'm going to major on Brad camps, writing books. I'm going to be getting more into this motivational speaking on a wider network in terms of not only within 4 networking and the shows that I'm hitting right now, but to a wider network. And I've got 2 inquiries at the moment from TV companies, Channel 4 and Channel 5. So that could come off as well.
So, Brad, we're talking about people relating to you. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the States? Would you be accepted over there?
So there's 2 things here. One, yes, but I'd need to just slow down my diction according to somebody. I'd have to slow down my diction, and I'd have to do a little bit of, knees at mother brand, all that sort of stuff. I think they would love me over there as long as I slow down my diction. And this is the question that I need to ask myself: have I run out of ambition or ability? Can I really be bothered going over to America in order to go and sit in a travel lodge equivalent and then go and speak at an event? And do you see, this is the thing. So I could spend years of going to go win America over. Well, actually, while there's thousands of people in the UK that need winning over, why would I travel to the States? You see, I mean, I've spoke at international speaker. I've spoke at several international venues and what have you, for corporates, but I've got no heart for it. This is the thing. What would me flying over to America, let's say we go first class, to go speak in California to 5,000 people, what would that achieve in my life which I've not got already? And this is the thing. We end up doing stuff because we've been told that that's what success is. I'm all right living in Somerset with my village, thanks, and pottering about. Do you see what I'm saying, Ian? It's a really interesting one.
It's a really good point, Brad, because, sales, if you think about it in sales, there's plenty on your doorstep. There's plenty of low-hanging fruit, isn't there? But, people want to see you overseas and it looks good when they're selling globally.
Ian, I'll tell you, I had a guy years ago when I first started running my business off, and he said, I need a bigger territory. And I got him in my car and I drove around and said, have you been in that office? No. What about that one? No. What about that one? No. What about that one? No. This went on for 15 minutes. And I said, listen, when you've been in every single one of those offices, then you can have a bigger territory. Until such a time, STFU, boom. True story.
That's a great takeaway from people listening out. I'm sure they'll relate to that one.
We end up giving ourselves reasons as to why we can't succeed. We need a bigger territory. The car's not got big enough alloy wheels. My business cards aren't right. The website's not right. And actually, it's nonsense. In order to start a business off, you need 3 things: an idea, vision, and belief. That's it. In order to be a business success, you need 3 things: mobile phone, shoe leather, and big balls. That's it. That's why I started mine off. £25,000 in debt. £25,000 in debt, not a single qualification to my name, not one. I've done 4 years in the dole. I've been addicted to drugs twice. My dad was a heroin addict. I was brought up in the mean streets of Manchester, council estates, but by a single mum. What's your excuse? What is your excuse to your audience? What is your excuse? Well, I got locked in a coal shed when I was 6. Well, that was 25 years ago. Shut up. Boom.
So, Brad, we've heard about 25, 30 minutes of you, and I'm sure people want to go listen more. Where can we find you? Where are you speaking lately? Are you on social media? Yeah. You've got your books out there.
So, bradburton.biz is my website, bradburton.biz. You'll also find me on Facebook /the Brad Burton. I got a blue tick the other day, verified and made up with that. And Twitter, Brad Burton. Just Google Brad Burton. You can't fail. You'd love to find me there.
What I'll do, Brad, I'll put some show notes up and we'll link you across.
Wonderful.
So in terms of where you're speaking this year, what things have you got going on?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the events, funny enough, as we speak. I'm headlining it again at the business show. I think it's in Olympia XL. I'm just loading the page up now. And that's a massive one for me because, that's...
How many people, Brad?
250 inside, 300 people outside spewing. But I'm serious. I mean, this is the great thing about it. It's fabulous. There is no one, right, at that business show who gets as many people outside as me. You can't get in. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You've got Dragon's Den people who are having empty seats. You've got MBEs, OBEs, all having empty seats. And then somewhere along the way, and this is what I do, is I create hype. I get crowds and I give wisdom. So on the week commencing February the 10th, I'm actually at For Networking, Leamington Spa, I'm at London, Walthamstow, Harpenden, Norwich, Nottingham, Birmingham, because I'm doing 12 For Networking meetings on the February week, February the 15th. I'm driving 1,400 miles for my For Networking is 10 tour. So I'm going to be doing massive amount of social media, but I am literally doing 1,400 miles and speaking at 12 gigs. But also, like I say, the bradburton.biz website there, you've got everything, all my events where I'm going to be speaking at.
Fantastic. Well, if you're coming up north, Brad, I'll try and catch you on the For Networking
events. Funny enough, I was talking about coming up north. I need to come up northeast because I'm missing it. I think I'm going as far as Leeds.
That's not north.
Funny. That's a good one. Yeah, you're right. Okay, fair enough. But I've got a friend of mine actually who's based over there, Mark Bryant, who runs got the media partnership. Do you know it? Gateshead. So
Gateshead.
Yeah, a friend of mine. I've got loads of friends of mine up there actually. I love the northeast. It's that and along with Cardiff are my favourite cities in the UK. Funny enough.
Right. So we'll see you soon then. Well, Brad, listen, thanks very much for that. It's been really good and like I say, I'm sure some of the listeners want to hear more. They might even be outside trying to get into that show you're doing soon. So, listen, thanks very much. You've been fantastic, and we'll have to see you again.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt, Ian.
Cheers, Brad. Thanks very much.
Mate.
Well, that was Brad Burton. When this goes out to your feeds, I'll be watching with interest. Jump over to industryangel.com and Brad's got a page there. Scroll down to the bottom and there's a Facebook plugin. Be sure to leave some comments and I'll try and feed them back in future episodes. As you can hear, Brad doesn't pull any punches. If that's not for you, then fair enough. But there's an awful lot of people out there who love his no-nonsense approach. Is this a future for industry speakers? Would you like to see Brad speaking at an event near you? I look forward to your comments. Until next time, I'm Ian Farrer, and you've been listening to The Industry Angel.